Hello and welcome to the topic on tax compliance and tax planning. This is also a topic under the module taxation management. And I believe from the discussion that we have had, you have had insightful knowledge on how things around taxation work. By the end of this topic, you will be able to understand the meaning of the term compliance. You will also be able to explain what are the requirements for someone to be able to comply with tax or businesses to comply with tax, explain the tax planning strategies, and finally you will be able to understand how taxation is done in business transactions. We begin by looking at the meaning of tax compliance, and we are saying is the individual or business decision to comply with the taxation or the tax laws in a given country. Now, compliance is all about adhering to what the taxation laws in your country specify in terms of when to pay, how much to pay, and so on and so forth. So that is very, very important. There are consequences, of course, of not complying with tax. And in due course, we are going to be looking at what happens when you do not comply with tax. So it is important that everybody respects the taxation laws. These laws are going to vary, of course, based on what kind of taxes should be paid. But we have something that maybe cuts across most countries would be the pay-as-you-earn tax that is deducted on people's income. And through it, we can be able to ensure that everybody that is doing it is able to comply with those taxes. Tax compliance requirements. Number one, you need to be able to understand the tax laws of your country, the tax laws that govern your business. Number two is getting the government procedural requirements for payment and filing of returns. So you need to know how to go about it. And one way of knowing how to go about it is to familiarize yourself with the tax laws of a country. You can also seek and get advice from taxation authorities of your country, and these will ensure that you are in line and you are able to comply with any tax issues and tax requirements. Number three, another tax requirement, compliance requirement is not when the tax deadline is due in order to comply and avoid unnecessary penalties. Now, most of these taxes, like we have discussed under the types of taxes, have deadlines that you need to have paid. So if you have not paid these taxes on a certain deadline, then you are going to incur some penalties, and no one wants to be in such kind of a scenario. And finally is obtain a tax compliance certificate. So a tax compliance certificate is simply a document that shows that you have complied with tax, and it is issued by the tax authorities. Tax compliance requirements for businesses. Now, for all businesses, these are some of the tax authorities, the governments in various countries will be expecting you to pay, but they are also guided by the taxation laws in your country. Number one is the income tax or corporate tax. We have said that one is the tax on companies. So I invite you to check what percentage is that tax in your country. For countries around East Africa, for example, Kenya, corporate tax is at 30%. And then we also have another one for businesses is the value added tax, and that one is tax on goods. And then we have what we call payroll tax. Payroll tax is found in countries where we do not have pay-as-you-earn tax. So payroll tax is generally taxed on the general overview of a business payroll. So it is the business that is expected to remit. And so what most companies are going to do in such countries, they will deduct a small percentage from their staff, but they will remit it as one amount, and it is the amount that we refer to as payroll tax. And then we have the local taxes. We have quite a number of local taxes, excess duties, and so many others that are also very important that you pay in your business. Tax planning strategies. The tax planning is the analysis of one's financial situation from the tax efficiency point of view. Why is it important for us to do tax planning? Number one, at a business level or at an individual level, it is important to do tax planning, number one, to avoid litigation. Litigation simply means avoid being sued by tax authorities for non-compliance or for failure to pay. So litigation is all about these issues about lack of payment escalating to the courts of law, and the judges will make their decision based on the evidence that has been presented. And then we have to reduce tax liabilities is another advantage of tax planning. So we reduce the issues or the taxes that you will be expected to pay. The other one is to ensure economic stability. So through taxation, we are able to contribute to the country's basket, and we are able through that to improve infrastructure, develop our economy. So you need to plan on how you're going to do these remittances for the sake of stabilizing the economy and improving the economy. And finally is to be able to leverage on productivity. Leverage simply means you take maximum advantage on productivity, because you know you have adhered to all the tax requirements. You take advantage of concentrating on other affairs like productivity. Taxation of business transactions, we have, for example, what we call sales tax, consumption tax, imposed by a government on the sale of goods and services. It will take the form of VAT, which we have mentioned quite a number of times, and goods and services tax, a state or provincial sales tax, or an exercise tax. The other one is the income tax. Governments impose income tax on financial income generated by all entities. We have given examples of these income tax, and we have said things like corporate tax. Examples of income tax, that is income in the sense that it is income that has been generated by the business. So, and we also have pay as you earn is also another type of income tax. From this discussion, it is important to plan yourself. Remember the famous quote that failure to plan is planning to fail. So when you fail to plan on how to meet your tax obligations, we have seen the consequences. You are inviting litigation, you are inviting penalties on your business and on yourself, and therefore it is important for you to also, like we have indicated here, get to know the exact dates that the taxes are being remitted. That is to avoid being given penalties, and also be able to understand from the discussions on the principles, also be able to understand when to calculate or how to calculate and also remit this particular kind of tax. So that is the end of that discussion on tax planning. You can also be able to read more wide in terms of different taxes that are taxed on businesses. Also, you can also research on why is it important to do tax planning, and this will ensure that your understanding is broadened. You can be able to discuss issues around tax planning in a broad perspective. I also invite you to look out for other videos in this platform to be able to increase your knowledge on various aspects.